So as usual, of course, want to thank the crowd for joining us today. Of course, I'm Hunter, one of the community managers over here at Off-Chain Labs building Arbitrum. And today we are lucky to have Crypto Volatility Index, or CVI for short, joining us today. More specifically, the Chief of Innovation over there, Yoni, is with us. How's everything going, Yoni?
Hi, everything is right. Hi, guys. Glad to be here.
Yes. Really happy to have you here today. I think before we do get into, the meat and potatoes of things, I think all of us would love to know maybe, first of all, amazing title. I don't think I've ever heard someone title Chief of Innovation, but it's genius though. By the way, I love it.
Thanks, I love it too. It's a very dynamic role. I work closely with the dev team and also on architecture and business related aspects. So it's fully encompassing all directions of the protocol. It's a very interesting role.
That's great. Pretty much the internal freelance. I like that. Awesome. Well, we can definitely get into it then. Maybe what would help for those who maybe aren't currently aware, can you give us an intro to what the CVI is, and maybe just how it even got started?
Yeah, for sure. So it got started almost 2.5 years ago. It was right before the original DeFi summer. We were looking to build a new primitive that would be very useful for everyone, ideally around the concept of a hedging tool. Also, we were thinking mostly about a long-term horizon. So DeFi was on fire back then, and there were many like food-related coins which had no real utility. So we were thinking, what can we build on DeFi that is unlike that, something that can evolve over time to become an entire ecosystem that will be very useful and needed for crypto markets as a whole. And especially as DeFi will mature and fulfill its promise to replace part of the legacy financial system, more and more institutional investors will become active. So we were thinking about what is currently missing that those types of investors are actively using all the time in traditional financial markets, as well as what is missing for the DeFi power users of the early days. And this is how CVI was born. It is an index which measures the crypto market's expectations of volatility for the next 30 days. So some people are now calling it a VIX for crypto, or I've also heard the crypto market's fear index. And the way it works is indeed similar to the VIX of traditional finance. Now, maybe I'll explain a bit about the VIX. The VIX is a hugely popular index which tracks the volatility expectations of the S&P 500. It has a massive ecosystem of tradable products around it, with volumes in the billions of dollars. It's widely quoted in financial media and attracts the fascination of all kinds of market participants, from retail individual traders to institutional investors, hedge funds, etc. And one of the key reasons for the popularity of the VIX is that it's based on the prices of S&P 500 call and put options. Now, those are widely traded, and this makes the VIX a reliable indicator of market sentiment. In essence, it reflects the collective views of a large group of market participants. So another way to think about sentiment is that of like a risk perception. So when the market fears incoming volatility, the prices of call and put options goes up. Thus, the VIX goes up. So similarly to the VIX, which is based on the prices of options on the S&P 500, the CVI is based on the prices of options on Bitcoin and Ethereum. Those are weighted together in the calculation to derive the CVI index. Now, the CVI itself, it ranges between 0 and 200. Now, effectively, it has never been below 50 due to the high volatility in crypto markets. This is in comparison to the VIX. For those of you who know it and traded it, it usually ranges between 10 and 30. And when there is 30, when there is higher volatility, above 30, it's considered a very high volatility. So right now, CVI is at 66, which is much below its mean value. And I think it's one of the lowest value we've seen in a while. So now, as I mentioned, the VIX has a massive ecosystem of tradable products on top of it, which allow also to trade it. Similarly, we've built an ecosystem of products around the CVI, and have just recently launched CVI version 3 on Arbitrum several weeks ago.
Awesome. By the way, I linked that that announcement post up in the space if anyone in the crowd wants to take a look about the announcement of V3. Very interesting. Yeah, I'm not much of a stock bro myself, but I am very familiar with the VIX. So before getting into this call, I was like, okay, I'm a little prepared, a little bit, not entirely. um, I think I also have an understanding of that. There's also a token involved here called the CVOL. Can you maybe dive into a little bit about how that works specifically, and maybe how that differentiates itself from different volatility products within the crypto market?
Yeah, sure. So what is CVOL, CVOL? And the thing is this. So when we built CVI, we looked at the history of the VIX and the history of tradable products around the VIX. So the VIX had an ecosystem of options and the futures market around it for years. But at some point, there was a period around 2011 of exponential growth in trading of the VIX. It became hugely popular. So we looked at what happened during that time, and one thing that pops to view that there was a launch of the VIX leverage ETNs. So those are ETNs and ETFs. Those are tradable products that allowed anyone to trade the VIX similarly to how they trade a stock. So that was part of our vision. It became an integral part of the vision that ideally we would want to make the equivalent of that for crypto. And the best thing would be to have a tradable token that allows anyone to trade it, swap into it, and thus take a position on the VIX. So we had much reason to believe this is the key driver to the exponential growth of the VIX. And that laid the foundation bricks of how do we build such a token. Now, it's important to understand that this market of trading the VIX, it's extremely imbalanced when you think about it. So if you want to create a token that would track it, when it's in low values, low volatility, there will be a lot of demand for it, that it can go up. And vice versa, on the contrary, when it's very high. So how do we build an ecosystem for such an imbalanced market? And also, the VIX, one of the key reasons it's so popular is that it is highly liquid. And even much more so in crypto, liquidity is essential. So how do we build an ecosystem that would facilitate such a token? How can it be extremely liquid? And this is one of the key reasons that we started off with CVI V1. We initially built an AMM that allows anyone to deposit liquidity. And that liquidity acts as a counterparty for the long position takers. So the CVOL token itself, it's an ERC20 token, which is fully tradable. You can trade it on SushiSwap, on Arbitrum. And the token is pegged to the CVI via arbitrage. So the way it works is quite unique. It goes like this. So as it is pegged to the CVI, holding CVOL is equivalent to taking a long position on CVI. Now, CVI is mean reverting. It will always go back to its mean value. So there was a lot of construction around it. How do we build a market that would facilitate such trade? And one of the key reasons, sorry, one second. Sorry. So one of the things that we had to do was to have it be adjusted by funding fees. So this is the first token that is adjusted by funding fees, and it has a rebase mechanism, and that way it can keep its peg with the CVI index. Sorry, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, wait, did you mute yourself there? Or?
Sorry?
Wait, we just looked fine. I couldn't tell if you.
Okay. Okay. So the token. Yeah. So the thing is this: the token it has a rebase mechanism that allows it to keep its peg with the index. So if you think about it, in order for it to keep its peg with the index, you need some kind of mechanism, otherwise it would just decline in price. So for this reason, we made it an elastic token. And the elastic token's elasticity allows it to keep its peg with the index.
No, that's awesome. And I think it's really cool to have this type of product, especially obviously within the crypto market, because I mean, frankly, this is something that's technically available in traditional finance, and obviously has been for a while. But it's great to see this making its way into crypto and making it's like allowing projects to be like a lot more composable with it. Pretty much introducing like a bunch of different options, I'm sure, including CVI V3 that you guys mentioned a little bit. And I want to get into that, I promise. Before we do, could you maybe give us like an idea on why you guys chose Arbitrum to launch this product on?
Yeah, sure. So we've been keeping a close eye on Arbitrum since I think Q1 21, almost 2 years ago. And I think even back then, you guys were just in the beginning. I think me and the dev team sat together to look at the differences in rollup technologies being built, and were very impressed. Arbitrum's multi-round proofing looked very promising. So we had discussions whether to wait or not for the Arbitrum launch that was targeted for, I believe, summer 21. Eventually, we couldn't wait for summer, but half a year later, we launched our governance token, Govi, staking program on Arbitrum. And this was our first step in introducing Arbitrum to the Govi community, which governed the CVI protocol. At that point, we are ready to deploy on Arbitrum. However, we decided to wait until we have CVI v3 ready. And we wanted that at the point in which we deploy the platform to Arbitrum, we'll have the mature product ready. So meanwhile, throughout this year, we've been following the developments and, of course, the Nitro upgrade. I personally think Layer 2s are in very early days, and Arbitrum as well, as other Layer 2s will definitely evolve and change over time. There's also the question of security versus decentralization. So you have to be careful in every step you do. For example, having a decentralized sequencer involves a lot of technical challenges. So in such a dynamic settings in which Layer 2s are in essence an early days and evolving product, I think one of the best things we can do is bet on a really, really good team. And, I think everyone can agree Off-Chain Labs have delivered big time in 2022. And looking ahead to 2023, I really like to see the Prismatic Labs funding by Off-Chain Labs. I'm looking forward, and I'm sure there will be plenty of synergies from this collaboration between Prism and Off-Chain Labs. And of course, the success of Ethereum and its diversified clients is the success of everyone building on it, including Off-Chain Labs and all of the decentralized apps being built, including CVI.
Not that I had any doubts before on how much you knew about Arbitrum and Off-Chain Labs, but very, very, very impressive that you mentioned the multi-round fraud proofs. I don't think I've heard anyone on an AMA ever mention that.
Yeah, I remember looking at it and like we were thinking, this seems like the superior tech. It was really early days, and we thought this could make a key difference.
Well, yeah, no, listen, man, we obviously really appreciate it. I've been here for about like a year and a half, so like that even predates me a little bit. But listen, I totally agree. I mean, and frankly, it's again, all part and due to teams like yourselves, like really believing the vision and trusting the community at the end of the day.
Yeah, I also loved all the focus on like having a low latency. That's also something that is so important, and I think like looking back, it will be one of the key aspects that is required. Like you don't want to wait long time for transaction confirmation. That doesn't work.
Right. No, yeah. I mean, especially like if you're comparing Web2 platforms, like a lot of people are used to getting things confirmed. I mean, confirmed, I say like, when you click a button, usually things happen right away. I definitely agree. Like,
Yeah.
we know crypto has to reflect that to a certain extent. Yeah. But I think, so in that case, obviously, really appreciate that, by the way. Could you maybe dive in a little bit deeper into then this new product you guys launched on Arbitrum specifically, CVI V3, like the Theta Vault and all that stuff and how it works?
Yeah, for sure. So CVI V3 works like this. There are two sides. One is the CVOL token. That allows anyone to take a long position on the index. And on the other side, we have a vault called the Theta Vault. That vault works as a structured product. It allows anyone to deposit liquidity to the vault. And in essence, that liquidity will be used to facilitate trading and act as a counterparty for the volatility tokens. And this was a development that took many months, because the thing is this: CVOL, it incurs time decay. It's a rebase token, as I mentioned, and the amount of tokens would go down in price. Now, having a liquidity pool for such a token is very problematic, because a liquidity pool that suffers from time decay cannot scale up. Now, the Theta Vault is what solves that. The way it does that, the magic of the Theta Vault, is that when users add liquidity to the vault, they add USDC into it, the vault takes some of that USDC, it mints CVOL tokens with it, pairs it together with USDC on the DEX, and leaves another part of it, USDC, as collateral to back it. Now, what this construction does is it allows basically the Theta Vault to pay funding fee to itself, and thus it doesn't suffer from time decay. So what we had until now, we had CVI V2 launched. It included the CVOL token 1 year ago, and the token has been working flawlessly since then. However, the liquidity for the token could not scale up without the vault. So this is the key part of V3. This can allow the liquidity to scale up by an order of magnitude, because there is no time decay for the tokens on the DEX. The tokens belong to the vault. And this has another repercussion, that whenever there is a swap on the DEX, the swap, the liquidity for the swap belongs to the Theta Vault. That means that the vault also receives the swap fees from the DEX. And when you think about it, when you are in the vault, there are different mechanisms for revenue for vault depositors. One is that as time goes by, the vault would profit over time if there isn't an increase in CVI. That's one. Second thing is, whenever there is a swap on the DEX, the vault would get that swap fee. And another thing that we did is that the swapping, the arbitrage between the DEX and the vault is kept by arbitrageurs. So we added a PVP mechanism that arbitrageurs can compete on keeping that peg. And on top of that, the vault itself can arbitrage the DEX by itself. So when there is a price impact due to swapping on the DEX, at times that price impact, that slippage, would go to the vault. So to sum it up, the vault has different revenue streams, and it acts as counterparty for the token. So if you hold a CVOL token, you know it is fully backed by the vault. If CVI would go up to its maximum value of 200, the vault would act as counterparty, and you know you can redeem your token. And on the other side, we have a structured product with the vault. If you're not a trader and would like to get a passive income, you can deposit liquidity to the vault.
Very interesting. Obviously, a lot we can dive into here, but I think maybe to start off with is like, in terms of the Theta Vault, like obviously you mentioned a couple of different ways that it earns, I guess you could say, revenue. But other than that, are there any other different ways that that APR essentially is boosted? And on top of that, like, considering that the vault essentially is a short on volatility, like how can it be profitable in times where there is a lot of volatility and in times when there isn't? Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. So that's actually a great question. So when you hold CVOL tokens, you should be aware of the fact that they have time decay. So they are not designed to be held for long periods of time. So you are long on the index, you buy a CVOL token, and you hold it, and you can be in profit. That's the simpler side. And on the vault side, basically what you're doing is you're selling data, you're selling the time decay. Over time, if CVI would not go up, the vault would profit. So to your question, how can it be profitable both in stagnant times and when there is high volatility? So in stagnant times, CVI would go down or stay in the same level, right? Because when there isn't volatility, the CVI would not go up, and the vault would receive funding fees. When there is high volatility, CVI goes up. The vault would have some losses, but what would happen is that the volume will increase. Okay, so when the volume increases and the vault receives swap fees, and it gets some of the price impact, that element negates much of the upwards movement. So this allows traders that time it right to have high profits while keeping the vault with a stable APR over time.
Well, I don't know. I mean, this is definitely like very I mean, per usual. I feel like a lot of these AMAs that we host, we always tend to have guests on that are like really breaking the barrier in terms of product launches. Um, I'd love to know maybe like I guess like the strategy here, not only obviously with the release of this product, but also in terms of maybe including partners. In the release of this, and when I say partners, I mean like ecosystem projects or anything like that. If you guys have one.
Yeah, this is like, every builder in this space also, we all love this aspect of composability, as you mentioned. This is also a very important trait of the tokens. And in general, like having all of the projects integrated in a safe manner is, I think, one of the coolest things that we all can agree we love building, and see the different protocols interact together. So I can give some like unconfirmed alpha here of one of our plans. One thing we're thinking of, and this came from the Gavi, our governance token, Gavi community, and we are thinking to have a protocol own liquidity of the Tether vault, and that means that the protocol could hold some of the vault's liquidity. And now once we have that, the protocol could also hedge itself. So the protocol can hold part of the vault and, for example, take some hedge on maybe Premia or Dopex. Even we can have some position on GMX, and I think that can be pretty awesome. And I'd like to take this chance to ask everyone what are you thinking, what the community is thinking about that, because I think that can be pretty awesome.
And I guess for those who aren't familiar with protocol and liquidity, like how can that benefit CVI? And I guess the other protocols that would be included.
Yeah, so for CVI, as a holder of the vault liquidity, it can earn APR on that liquidity. So that's like a revenue stream for the protocol itself. And for other protocols, it can be really great, as it's like a constant stream of usability coming from CVI.
Awesome. Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah, and I think like definitely, the theme behind a lot of these, again, if you've been to a bunch of these AMAs already, is that like we always try to see like how products can like integrate with each other and obviously kind of mix and match their like obviously innovative products in this case. That's really cool though. I'm definitely looking forward to integrations you guys make.
Yeah, thanks. That would be really awesome to do.
Awesome. So I think obviously you guys have this. You guys have CVI V3 coming. Is it already launched or is it still on the roadmap?
Yeah, so it was launched on Arbitrum several weeks ago. We're live with the CVI token, and it's been going really great. We have many more features coming up with V3, but it's already live. You can try it out on CVI Finance on Arbitrum.
I love it. Yes. Again, I pinned the tweet above where you can check it out. Awesome. I love maybe then in that case for those who are interested in finding out, like what do you guys have coming down as well down the roadmap? I know you just launched this V3 thing, so you want to take it in, but we always have to ask what's next.
Yeah, for sure. So CVI V3 it has 3 parts to it actually. So what we launched is the Theta Vault with the CVI token, That's the first part that is launched. Was launched several weeks ago. And the next features, the next parts of CVI v3 are one of the major ones is adding leverage. So the thing is this, the VIX ETNs that are hugely popular, they have volumes in the billions of dollars. Those have a leverage to them. And that is key for their usability and success, because if you have a hedging tool and you want it to be capital efficient. So what we plan next up is to have a UCVol, which will be CVI like CVol with leverage. And another part of it would be that we want to increase the capital efficiency of the DEX liquidity. So something that we've been working very hard on is to have a concentrated liquidity theta vault. That means a vault that can support a DEX like Uniswap v3. So for those who don't know it, those types of DEXs are much more capital efficient. And this is also key for CVI, because the VIX is so successful due to the fact that it's highly liquid. So with concentrated liquidity at Theta Vault, we'll have highly scalable liquidity for CVI. That is one of the keys. So this is in a very advanced stage of development, and we can't wait to have that out pretty soon. And the last aspect of CVI v3 is related to tokenomics upgrade. So basically, we've been building throughout the year, improving the product more and more, and we gave a bit of less room for tokenomics, and one of the focuses would be to upgrade the tokenomics. And one thing that we're looking to do is to have an S-code model for Govi, similar to GMX.
Awesome. And was there like a specific kind of goal there in terms of upgrading the tokenomics model?
Yeah, so basically we've been waiting for that until we have the mature product out. Now with CVI v3, that's the mature product, and with that in mind, now that we have it, we would like to aim for zero unlocked emissions for the governance token. I think that's very important nowadays. And like now that the product can speak for itself, I think that's the time to do it and reduce the emissions to be near zero.
Awesome. I think before we take it to community questions, so for those of you in the crowd who want to ask a question, make sure to request to speak. I hear that there is some sort of trading competition or something happening. Can you maybe give us some more details on that?
Yeah, that is correct. So right now we're launching our first ever volatility trading competition on our volatility token CVOL. And the competition will take place only on CVI with v3, which is deployed on Arbitrum. And the competition is limited only to Arbitrum users. So also please note, this will be the first in a series of trading competitions with increasing prices. So participating early in the first one can be a great preparation for the next competitions. I'm inviting you to our Twitter, official CVI, for more information about prices, multipliers, and the competition rules.
Yeah, for those interested, I actually pinned it to the top of the space, so feel free to click on that tweet they just sent out. Everyone loves competition, especially trading ones. Yeah, so if you guys do have any questions for Ioni from CVI, please feel free to request to speak / raise your hand, and I will bring you up. Again, let's make sure it's CVI specifically related. Bringing on Fatima. Fatima, GM. make sure to unmute yourself, Fatima, if you have a question. Possible Fatima fell asleep on the mic over here. I think they had their hand raised for a little while. Just in case, since there might be some people getting their questions ready. I have a question myself, actually. Is there a DAO associated with CVI?
So we're in the an formation. I would not say it's a DAO at this point, but obviously the point of CVI is to be as decentralized as possible, right? So we see decentralization as a process. I think most of the protocols are in some stages of this, and it's super important because obviously the only index that can work to measure volatility in crypto markets has to be a decentralized one, and obviously it has to be governed in a centralized fashion. So we already had several votes. So if you hold Gavi tokens, you can participate in the vote and help shape the future of the index. And also to this point about decentralization, I think I didn't mention this. So the index itself, it works in a decentralized way. We collaborated with Chainlink to build it. So we built what's called an external adapter. The code for CVI is fully open source. You can look at it. You can suggest some improvements, and we'll want to add more and more sources to it over time. And the way it works with Chainlink and Chainlink keepers, it's fully decentralized and transparent on chain. And I think that's also key elements in our field.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, just in case, for anyone who does, and oh, here we go. Let's see, I just got someone here. We're just gonna end it off. Here we go. We have someone, Lil BB. Lil BB, hello, GM. Can you try speaking again? It seems like your mic's a little bit. Make sure to unmute yourself, by the way, BB.
Hello.
Hey, what's going on?
Hello. Good day.
GM.
Hello.
GM.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you fine. What question do you have for Yoni?
My question is that when is it regarding to Arbitrum? When is it going to be listed on other exchanges?
Let's keep the questions related to CVI specifically, for since it's their AMA. Do you have any questions for CVI at all?
Hello. Hello.
Yep. Yeah. Do you have any questions for a CVI?
Okay, I didn't have any question for CVI. It's just only for the Arbitrum.
Then feel free to ask us in the Discord. Then we're trying to keep everything CVI related here.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no, in that case, I think we can probably end off here, but I definitely want to do it with a good call out. For those in the community that are do you want to ask any questions or want to get involved in any way with CVI, what would be the best way for them to do that, Yoni?
Yeah, the best way would be to reach out to us on our social channels, and also if you are a developer and want to contribute, our Discord is very active, and Telegram group, and so you can find us there on Discord, Telegram. Feel free to ask any questions on Discord. Also, I think you'll find the community are really awesome, and they, besides the team, the community are really helpful and can answer any questions that you have. And also, you can, at this stage, you can also have some suggestions and even formulate what we call a CVIP, an implementation proposal, and help shape the future of the index.
That's awesome. Yeah, we really look forward to the improvement of the V3, and obviously you guys potentially partnering with the ecosystem projects. Appreciate you guys for choosing Arbitrum as your home as usual, and we'll catch you in the next one, man.